Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to Not Funny Guys Presents Red Dwarf Rewatch. And I'm your host, Dr. John. So let's dive into this. We're in episode 3, folks. It's just keeps getting better. I swear, there's pretty much almost not an episode of this entire series that I don't like. Granted, I haven't seen the last two, so that's not only going to be a rewatch, but a first watch for me. But as long as Rob Grant and Doug Naylor are working on it, we'll be fine. So we have arrived at episode 3. Gunmen of the Apocalypse, directed by Andy DeEmony and written by Rob Grant and Doug Naylor, released on the 21st of October, 1990. Starbug narrowly wins a battle of shoot-'em-up standoff with rogue simulants, but the simulants have infected Starbug with a computer virus, and the ship locks down and they are on a collision course for a volcanic planet. Crichton attempts to fight the virus by downloading it into himself, and what ends up in like a Wild West, I don't want to call it, dangerously close to feeling like an old Western trope or maybe a prediction of Westworld, but he is there trapped inside and he's losing the battle. It overtakes him, so Lister, Cat, and Rimmer enter Crichton's Wild West dream using an artificial reality video game in an attempt to help Crichton come up with an antidote to save their lives and obviously save him too. So let's get into this. So we open up with this black and white noir scene. A dame, she's met by Dave Lister. She's apparently a homicidal psychopath. They do the whole monologue about crime. He's caught her. And then we quickly realize he's in an artificial reality setup. Okay. We cut to Crichton interrupting, or trying to interrupt him, as he's in the middle of dry humping. Visually, it looks like he's dry humping this woman in a video game. It's kind of gross. They're making out, especially when he's in the making out thing, the tongue thing. But apparently, he's been on and off this machine for a month. And the game reveals that he even knows it's fake. He tells the character he's trying to sleep with in the game, he knows it's fake. And this character, this AR dame, is played by Jennifer Calvert. She's this femme fatale psychopath. He doesn't care. He just wants to get it on with her. That's all he's here for. He's basically using it like a porn site. So Crichton has to then literally go into the game to get him to come out and listen to him. And so he chooses Sammy the Squib, shows it up. Lister in the gal or in the car rocking it back and forth. Interrupt Lister, tells about these scans where they figured out they might be entering a dangerous territory and they need to power down. So apparently find out that he is in a rogue simulant hunting ground. They've accidentally lingered into this. They found a bunch of derelicts. In fact, they funded those derelicts. They found this AR console, which is basically just a VR console. So you have to shut down and go on low power, trying not to get noticed. Because these rogue simulants despise humans. They were designed apparently for a war that never happened. And so he ends up coming out of the system by clapping his hands. So they're on silent running, and they're literally only using the cat's nose as their alert system. And so Lister then immediately gets called out by Rimmer about his use of the AR machine for exclusively sex. Lister tries to deny it, claims he uses other programs, and Rimmer has to remind them that you're basically fooling around with just a load of pixels. Not wrong. Something relatable about our current world and, AI girlfriends. There we go. So, like we said, the simulants are psycho killers bred for war. They do run into a battle cruiser. They power up. The simulants, very much, like I said, hate humans, and they try to message them to identify themselves, and so they try to pull a fast one. They set up this ridiculous scene where they basically lean back and put little dotted eyes on their chins, looking upside down, some claiming to be from the Vindalumian Empire, hating them and everything like this. But the simulant beams aboard their ship and spoils the gag. And at this point, we find out that the little eyes they were using were actually Crichton's, which is also kind of gross. So they get found out. The enemy has come aboard, trying to figure out these people are going to be worth a test. Apparently, they're obsessed with testing their mettle. These are gym bros, alpha males. Rimmer immediately offers to surrender, as normally. And of course, he also uses the wrong war crimes convention number. And of course, once again, just like Space Corps directives, Crichton calls him out. And then he's like, why for once can't you just let me have it? The simulant actually stuns all of them, and they come to, it's been 3 weeks, and the ship is upgraded with armor and weapons. Because apparently the simulants have decided, okay, we want to spar, but we're going to level the playing field and spar with you that way. Kind of a big mistake. So the idea is that this will be a fair fight, but Cat explains this game of cat versus mouse, and the purpose is not be the mouse. And so the suggestion is they strike first. And for once, he is amazed that everybody agrees with him. He's like, oh, once in a lifetime kind of moment. They basically decide to fire first. They turn around, fire first, severely damage the simulant ship. They're going to explode. Before they do that, they transmit what's called the Armageddon virus before their ship explodes and is destroyed. It shuts down the ship. Crichton realizes that the only way to stop it is for him to absorb it and then to fight it and create a counter virus, a dove virus. So he absorbs the virus, plans to take it on, and then, of course, form an antidote in the process. He tells the crew to watch his dreams to find out what's happening. And they've been locked down. They have 38-minute timeline before they're basically crash into that moon, that lava moon. And so we roll forward to about 23 minutes. Rimmer is trying to figure out a plan B where he basically tries to pitch that he should get and use the escape pod. Lister has to break bad news to him that they don't have an escape pod because he accidentally ejected because he used the lever to open a beer last Thursday. They then start getting inputs from Crichton's dream as he's laying out in this bed. And what we find is a drunk sheriff in a western town. Somehow this is his subconscious. And the virus is basically these 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. What we'll come to find out are called the Apocalypse Boys. And at this point, he's become useless. He's obviously losing in his own dream world. They arrive, Apocalypse Boys, they call out the sheriff. He gets more drunk in the saloon. As he moves outside, he starts grabbing bottles and getting more and more drunk. Of course, they are, war, death, famine, and pestilence. They do a lot of shooting at Crichton's feet, tell him to leave. He has 1 hour. Crichton throws down his badge, and then this is where we come back to the crew watching, and Cat thinks they should go in to help him. Once again, twice in a lifetime. Good idea. So they're going to attach one of the AR games to help him basically go into his dream state through that process, and Lister kind of figures it out. And they have to choose figures in this Western game. So Cat chooses to be the Riviera Kid. Rimmer is Dangerous Dan McGrew, apparently the Cat basically is a gunfighter. Rimmer is the fist hand to hand, and Lister is Brett Riverboat, knife skills. They also are told very clearly that they can't be hurt, and that if they clap their hands, they can get out of the simulation anytime. And so they go into Crichton's subconscious to help him out. They ride into town. They walk into the saloon. Rimmer is, because he can't be hurt, gets real cocky about his skills. He tries to order white wine. The Cat then says, step aside. He goes up to the bar and he wants to order tequila. And he does it in a real flashy way. And they end up basically through Lister getting gulping whiskey. And it's smooth. And then it causes, at one point, Rimmer to throw up into another man's hat. And this is when they almost have a fight. And when Lister pays off the guy, Crichton comes in to give away his valuables and his guns for a bottle of liquor as he's leaving town. And apparently when you leave town, the sign basically indicates that you're leaving existence. At this point, he doesn't recognize his fellow crew members. Lister tries to remind him of his mission. Lister then shows off his knife skills to help him out against one of the bar patrons messing with him. I'm assuming parts of his subconscious. Cat then shows off his gun skills and matches bullets with someone else shooting at them. So we now get to see their skills. And of course, Rimmer will eventually show off his skills of fists to sort of tackle the saloon crew. At this point, they're chasing Crichton because he's trying to run off. Cat manages to get off a trick shot, bounces off, eventually hits the signs and knocks Crichton to the ground. The crew then gets him. They get to sober him up, and they try to get him to remember who he is and what he's supposed to be doing, developing an antivirus. The Cat manages to get his guns back from the saloon, and they're marked with doves. But there's no bullet hole, place to put bullets. That's the program. No place for the bullets, as I said. Crichton then finally starts to remember the crew when he remembers Lister's name. And then, of course, when he remembers Rimmer's name, remembers Lister smells like curry. And Rimmer, he's like, you're a Smeeg. Heed. Never gets old. The Apocalypse Boys arrive. It's a little bit like a tombstone scene, or maybe any classic Western where they march out to face each other in the street and people scurry off. I think it's Death basically says, "Have infection, will travel." The Apocalypse Boys actually manage then to cancel out the crew's special skills and makes it so they can't use the little clapping motion to get out. So they actually get engaged and they get handed to them. Cat drops his guns. Lister Rimmer gets beat up. Lister realizes he can't even throw a knife now, and so they kind of realize they've got to get out of here, and Rimmer's getting beat up by War. They seem to can't exit the game, and then we cut back to them in the real world trying to find out a way to get out of the game. We find that eventually, I think Cat is able to remove Lister's helmet, and then he does the same. But now they're trapped outside. They can't get back in. So, like I said, Lister pulls off this thing. They escape. Now it's only Crichton. But interestingly enough, they've bought him enough time. He is able to unleash the Dove program, kill the Apocalypse Boys. Just in time, they're able to get control back of the ship, crash into the lava, but able to pull out. And as they fly out of the lava at the last minute, the last scene we see of them is flying off into the sunset. Another classic Western trope. So once again, another great episode. Obviously, I love it. Now, next time, though, we have Mohawk, Polymorph 2, which is where I think we're doing a little retcon, because if you remember Polymorph 1, the other one supposedly died in Lister's sock drawer. Makes sense. But apparently I think we're doing a little retconning here. Perfectly fine, but we'll see when we get there. No giving away things. So, in the meantime, please like, share, subscribe, follow along for more. We are also, if you want to go back, we've got all our past seasons. I got playlists for everything we've covered so far. I probably do need to break down the Venture Brothers one, but you should check those out. We got the Andor, we got all this series. I've been breaking these down, trying to make playlists for people so you can enjoy them. If anything else you want me to see, or you want to float some ideas, I've been tinkering with some things, but you can write me in the chat, in the little ticker below, or in the description. You can write me at notfunnyguys.offthereels@gmail.com. Tell me about some of the ideas so far. I've got Blackadder, Brockmire, News Radio, eventually Babylon 5, and The Expanse will obviously get covered. Don't know when, but I'm like compiling a list. And since I'm doing a kind of Anglophile show now, I'm thinking that the next one will probably be maybe News Radio or Brockmire. They're not terribly long. I think they're both only 4 seasons, and then we're definitely going to do Blackadder. But I am taking in new suggestions, which is why I continue to share the email address. But the email address is not only able to reach us here, it is able to reach us at our other shows. So what are those? So if you like, we've been doing television here on the YouTube, but if you're more into movies, then you should check out our main podcast, Funny Guys Present Off the Reels, where we talk about film. We're in the middle right now. We just did Wolf of Wall Street. We're in the middle of a 3-pack palate cleanser for Martin Scorsese films. We'll be moving on to Taxi Driver, which I do want to pitch. We are going to be recording live Friday night, and as we begin our Extra Life push. I will include the links for our Extra Life, both Eric, Casey, and myself. I don't know about Eric. I'll check that one. But I will include the links to donate to us as we play video games to raise money for children's hospitals. But while we do it, we'll also be recording an episode that will go out on Saturday as we continue our Extra Life. So come around for that, please. So that's where we do movies. If that's not your flavor, we also have Wrestling with the Horror of It All, where my colleagues, Casey and Eric, the other Not Funny Guys, they cover wrestling, obviously, WWE primarily, and horror films. So you can check out the stuff there. This is where they basically play the parts of sadomasochists, Casey being the sadist, Eric being the masochist. It's not my cup of tea, but if that's your cup of tea, check it out. Finally, we also have our academic podcast, if you want to call it that. It's more of our short discussion podcast with myself, Dr. John, and our Not Funny gal, Dr. Kristen. We talk about AI and all kinds of stuff, and things we're thinking about, sci-fi, illiberalism, whatever topic we're thinking about, we talk about, and it's pretty fun. I will admit, I tend to like a lot more of Dr. Kristen's. Just, it's a thing. I feel like when we discuss her topics, the banter is better, but that's just me. She's good at leading the conversation. I want to compliment her on that. But that is it. So in the meantime, like I said, check out those links for Extra Life. They are below. We'll be doing that. You can check out mine, and I'll definitely have Casey's. I'll have to check if Eric has one, if he's doing it, if we're just doing the team. So you can see the team page too. But I'll post links for those in the description below for anybody who's interested in participating and helping out. Well, I've been doing this now my 11th year, and I think it's Casey's 12th year of helping raise money for children's hospitals. And as my family has been a personal beneficiary of my youngest son, who as I'm recording this just turned 7, he was a recipient of that care, and we greatly appreciate it. And so we want to give back. So, however, despite all that, in the meantime, please don't be a smeghead. Keep it not funny, and I'll see you next time.